to Let's Get Fresh, the podcast for those passionate about growing their business through the power of connection. At Fresh, we've thrown out the rule book on networking as you may know it, and we've written our own. Think more connections, less blah, and a whole lot of ooh la la. Get ready to explore all things networking and business under the guise of fun, as world-class guests and relatable conversations collide, resulting in education, inspiration, and growth for you. G'day everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Let's Get Fresh podcast. I'm here with a couple of familiar faces, or may I say voices, that you'll be hearing a lot of on this show. His Royal Freshness, Darren Kelk. How are you?
Very well, glad to be here, even on a Sunday.
Even on a Sunday, the founder of Fresh Networking, and Shaun, Resnik, Mindset and Strategy Coach. You are one of our founding members. Pleasure to have you here.
Thanks so much, Tiff.
Very
awesome
excited to unpack all things business and networking today. Networking. Is it a dirty word?
Yes, I think networking has been a dirty word for me.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I always felt like it was a group of people who had an agenda. They wanted to fish for business, and they were just going to throw their business cards out there and try and collect as people to do business with as possible. So I feel like in the past that was my perception of it. So yeah, I think it was a dirty word.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to you. What about you, Darren?
I totally think it's a dirty word. I think sometimes I've felt like I've been violated by some of the people that I've met at a networking event. I recall a story, a guy that came up to me and said, "Darren, have I got a thing for you?" It's like, oh, what? He was a financial planner. And I won't say names to protect him, but I can give you my details and you can email it out to everyone on your database. I went, wow, why would I do that? Like, I'm a travel agent. I'm sure travel agents don't want to be sending out financial planning advice to all their clients. I think people want dreams and aspirations. So yeah, and he did that at the first meeting within 5 minutes. And it's like, well, you don't even know me. Like, do you want to take me out for dinner first?
I love it. What made you start networking? How did you get into it then?
Well, originally I left my job at Flight Centre and, all the marketing, clients came walking through the door.
Yeah.
It was very easy, didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So then I thought I could do this. It's easy myself. So, do a few Facebook posts, business will come rolling through the door. No, it didn't. So I thought, okay, well, I'm sitting there, nothing's happening. I was going to the gym every single day and nothing. No money. And so then I made this great idea. I thought, well, you know what I'll do? I'll go and I'll get a bench down at the Richmond Plaza shopping centre, paid $900 for that, and what a great marketing tool that was. I got no business from it. I sat there for a week expecting all this business to come past because all my Flight Centre clients would walk past me. It's like, no, that didn't work. So then I got this random spammy email from a very good friend of mine still to this day, and said about this networking group. And I thought, what the hell is networking? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
And so I went along to the Botanic Gardens and saw all these people. And I thought, this made sense to me. It's like, they're all going to give me business.
Yeah.
How easy was that? So that's how I got into networking, and I thought, oh yeah, that made sense because referral marketing, it's great.
Yeah, and it makes sense. What about you, Shaun? What was your first experience like? Did you seek it out?
I didn't seek it out. My web developer actually told me about networking and asked me to come to a networking meeting. Now, I actually was just trying to be friendly, be nice. And I went there as a favor to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, it was great. It was a wonderful opportunity to meet a group of people, and I actually felt like it was pretty cool. I got to talk about my business, got to share some interesting insights with people, and it was a good intro.
Yeah. Darren, why on earth, as a business person, running their own business, you're busy enough, what made you start your own networking organisation? Because that sounds like a lot of work. What were the gaps you were trying to fill there?
Look, I've done a lot of networking, so many different ones, and I just never found anything that was aligned with my values. And I had a very bad experience at the last networking group that I belonged to, and there was a guy in there, he was awful right beside me about gays, and hello. Not afraid to admit it. And he was really, really awful. And I thought, why would I refer to somebody that I don't even like? I wouldn't trust them. So I thought, no, and then I got together with my accountant and I said, do you want to just start up a group? We can do our own. I've got an experience with being an area manager. We can do it ourselves. And it was just formed as a hobby originally.
So tell me about your values, the values that weren't getting aligned in other networking groups.
I think generosity is number one. So I think Shaun was saying about people like, it is a dirty word because people just want to take. I'm a very big giver. I believe in helping people, helping them succeed. And at these other groups, I just saw a lot of takers. And so that was number one. Education is really, really important. So at Fresh, for example, what we do is educate a lot of business owners. So I think when you're on your own, you are on your own. So who can help you and guide you and give you that support and inspiration as well. And I think, and it's that like, know and trust thing as well. Like I don't want to be forced to refer to somebody that I wouldn't use myself.
Yes.
So, and I think that's how networking is now. Well, that's the way it should be, that you actually want to know, like and trust them.
Yeah. I remember when you launched Fresh, and I remember being involved in other groups previously, and group to group, depending on the people and the atmosphere, it was such a different experience. And we were in the very first Fresh group, which was amazing because there was a bunch of us that we knew each other and super fun. And then turning that, what I couldn't believe was how are you going to turn that and replicate that without being, like when Darren Kelk's in the room, when Shaun Resnik's in the room and Tiffanee Cook's in the room together, there's a vibe. How do we replicate a vibe? So I want to know a little bit about how you've managed that, because it's phenomenal and it's special and it's key to the success of, I think, the members in the group.
Thank you. Well, we need many of me.
Did you actually clone yourself and then
Yes.
just have reconstructive surgery on the clones so they look like different people?
Yep. It would be easier if it could actually do that. I think you've got to look at the whole systems and processes. That's the biggest thing, because it was easy when we only had 4 hubs that you can just get around to them all.
Yeah.
But now you do need systems and processes that, spice up the agenda, make it a little bit fun, have my quirkiness in those agendas. So we always think of different ways to make it fun.
Yes.
Whether it doesn't matter who runs it. It's probably like the McDonald's process. It's like everything has to be the same.
Yep.
However, allow people to use their personalities. That's the biggest thing. I think in the other networking groups, you were stuck to that one agenda.
Yes.
So what I want to do is actually give them agendas that they can use. They are fun, but use your personality. And it's like, don't be so rigid. If you want to do something different, do something different. Do a speed networking thing if you want to do it. If you want freshies and frothies, go out for drinks. And be a little bit different and fresh thinking. I think those other ones, they're not allowed to do things. And it's like, no, let people do things.
I think you've certainly got a point there. I think you've got to be flexible, and that's one thing that Fresh certainly offers all of us. And, it makes me think about another networking group that I went to a while back. And I rocked up in the morning. I was brand new. I didn't know anyone, and nobody was really kind and open to me being there. I felt invisible, right?
Yes.
But every networking, event I've been to through Fresh, everyone talks to you, they're lovely, they're kind, they're open to being there with you. And I feel like what you've created essentially is a culture of really open-minded, friendly individuals who are not just there for themselves, they're actually there for community. They're there obviously for business as well, but the byproduct is that we've actually created this wonderful family, which is what I think, Fresh is about too.
I think one of the things that I've learned over the years in networking is that you want, and I said this before, you want to do business that you're with people that you have the alignment with those values. And I never understood that for a long, long time, until every time I started to think, why don't I get on with this person, or why don't I want to refer to this person? It's because our values were not aligned.
Yeah.
And that's even our interview process is like, even when we get members that come on board, we interview in terms of alignment of values. And so when you go to a Fresh meeting, for example, majority of all of us have the same values, or like we're not always going to be the same personality types. We've got introverts, extroverts, there's all different types of people. Yeah. But they like the quirkiness, they like the fun of the brand, and that's what you want to be aligned with. I think you look at different business owners. I'm aligned to Virgin, airlines. It's like, I love it. They're fun, they're quirky. I've always loved their sense of humour with what they do. And that's what we want to attract, and that's what you want to attract as your community. So,
yeah, I love that. What do you think? Do you think there are personality traits in people or businesses that can be taught or cannot be taught when it comes to networking?
Oh, I think that you can take anyone and create a networker in them. If you really take someone who's introverted and just be someone who guides them to let them know that it is a safe place.
Yes.
No one's expecting them to be perfect. We don't need too many extroverts. I mean, then it's just a bit too loud. Everyone talks over each other, right? Yeah, you're going to say.
I've got a really good, that's a great point, because one of the things about networking is, it's like when you learn to drive, you didn't know how to drive. So you were bunny hopping, weren't you? So, and I remember one of the girls who joined Fresh, right at the start, she was always nervous. So she was like shaking like a leaf. And I was like that when I went to my first networking group. And it's like, oh my God, they're all going to, all these professionals out here intimidating me. And it's like, oh my God, I'm going to sound like an idiot. So you have this fear of imposter syndrome and you think, okay, but the more you do it, the more you practice, you get better. And this girl in particular, by the end of it, she was actually doing public speaking in her business. And that's one thing I'm very, very proud of. When I see people develop and they become a little ray of sunshine in their business again.
Are you talking about me? I was definitely that was me as well. That was I was shaking to stand up in front of a room full of, and I remember it was only 16 people or something, but for me it could have been an auditorium of 6,000 people. And my hands would shake, and in my mind, right, and this is what gets tricky with networking, as the room's going around and people are opening up and sharing what they do and who they are, I can't hear them because I'm having anxiety and shaking and forgetting what I've got to say. But I mean, we have 1 minute to introduce who we are and what we do. It shouldn't be that hard, but this package of networking just tends to throw us into a tailspin.
Yeah. And you know what the funniest thing is, Tiff? Like, whilst that's happening to you, it's probably happening to at least 20 to 30% of the people in the room as well. So it's interesting. It's all around vulnerability at the end of the day.
Yes.
I think people get really anxious about going into a new environment and thinking, will I be liked? Am I going to be good enough? Will I be loved?
Yes.
It's almost like going back to school days, isn't it? I mean, we're just kids in adult bodies, essentially. But this is a common trait that we all have, this fear. Yeah. I overcame a public speaking phobia many, many years ago. What networking gave me, for instance, was the ability to go into a big group and practice my skills. Yeah. So now when I go into corporates, it's easy, it's fun, it's engaging, but I can actually owe that to networking. So it's phenomenal what you can teach people through the power of networks.
I think the going back to the dirty word, I think you've got to always keep remembering, what have I got out of networking myself? So I've been I've been in my own travel business for 12 years now, and networking probably 11 years. And firstly, I went in with the understanding that I'm going to get referrals. That was what I was going to do, because that's what I was told. It's like, oh, you're going to get referrals. And it's like, the overall thing that you get is the friendships, like you two here on the couch. They're my closest friends. I've also got great business mentors who have guided me free of charge. They're my mentors and they sounding board. So I've been able to develop my business so well. Also get advice. So if I don't know which way to go with my business, it's like I can always ask for that. The education and the referrals are just a result of doing everything really well and being an active member. I think if you are seen as giving and being active, then people want to actually give it to you. When the opportunity comes, though, that's the difference. It's like, I don't want to have to go through my Refidex, is that what they call them these days? Teledex? Teledex. Google. And then I'll be forced to give you something. It's like, no, when the opportunity comes up, I then want to give you that really good introduction, because also with networking, your conversion rate with networking is really, really good too. So if you get an inquiry, you're more likely to convert that versus any type of other marketing that you do.
Yes.
Darren, you touched on something called the law of reciprocity. And essentially what happens is, if you do something for somebody else, they're going to most likely want to give you something back. And I feel like that's where it actually works best. Networking is all about you being something for someone else. And if they see value in you, then they'll actually want to refer business to you as well. So what I like about it is it's kind of a flowy effect when it's done properly, and it's not something you have to work at. It's actually something that just happens.
I also, Shaun's a perfect example. I remember when he started at Fresh, and I really loved what he had to say, and he's very energetic. So when I ran speed networking events, I thought, okay, I want to get Shaun some visibility because he does a lot for Fresh. He's taken on leadership roles, all these different things, because it is a voluntary type thing that you do. So let me put him in front of an audience as well. So he puts great presentations together, and he also represents my brand. I'm really proud to have him as a representation of Fresh. But by doing that, it puts him in front of a bigger audience as well. So, we have over 100 people going to those events. So, and then they get to see what he's like and doing it. So it's not always about that instant referral. It's like, okay, who can he connect with and where will that lead? And also he developed his skills doing that as well in a bigger audience.
What we learn that we're not aware of, but what we learn when we open our world up, like there's diversity of businesses and people, and there's so much growth to be had when you're one person and you go into the world of business, and we never know anywhere near as much as we think we know. But then when you step into a room like that, and then there's all these other businesses and industries and people and experiences and years and personalities, and like, I just think I'm a different person because I've been exposed to the conversations and the ideas and the people raising their hand to offer advice or even relay back how we communicate. Like, have you changed how you communicate your business and what you do because of people realising that it doesn't land with people in different industry types because they don't understand maybe your lingo or...
Which is also brings up the point that, sometimes people are scared of networking because they think they have to come across as being perfect, right? And none of us are perfect.
Well, Darren's pretty close. He's
Darren,
pretty close.
Of course, yeah. But the vast majority of us aren't perfect. And I feel like it's a safe place to go in there and learn your skill set whilst being imperfect. And if you're really, really anxious about networking, just join a hub that's 100 kilometers away from your home. It's fine, That's what I did. Make as many mistakes as you like and then just leave that hub and go somewhere else.
I think when you're in a safe environment, and that's the thing even at Fresh, I really encourage people to even ask for feedback. Yes. It's like if you do a 10-minute presentation, go up and ask some of your Fresh mates, your Freshies we call them, and get feedback. People that you can trust are going to be constructive and not awful, but they want to help you improve. I do it all the time. I actually always give advice to people if they want it, or maybe not, they don't want it sometimes. But and then each time I see them getting better and better, their message gets clearer and more succinct, and then they roll it out, and they just become really, really good at what they do. And that takes time. Networking is not something that just you can get benefit straight away in 1 year. It's an investment of time. I'll always be doing it. I cancelled out of networking years ago because I got so busy. So busy, I don't need to network anymore. I'm successful. No, don't need any more referrals. And then I realised I stopped looking at the where the business was coming from, and then I lost a big account of mine, which was a big commission, and I thought, I've got to get back out there, and that's what made me go out looking again. And I realised there wasn't many networking groups out there, and the one that I joined was awful. Sorry.
Why the emphasis on fun? Because when I think of Fresh and the brand and the business and the organisation, the overwhelming thing that stands out is fun. It's quirky and it's fun, which I think is also you've done something really vulnerable by doing that.
I think you were talking before camera about how I make people dress up for our Christmas parties. Every year we always do a theme. This year's our coming out party, coming out of lockdown, and because what that does, it actually gets people thinking differently. And when they all see each other make an effort and they come together, they have such a great time. If you just turn up and just say, it's just another get together, it's like, wow. Yeah. Where's the wow factor?
It's so true. I had a friend of mine join our hub recently, Mario, and we have a really vibrant hub, as they all are, but obviously we're biased because Shaun's part of my hub, and you're often in the room.
Hey, sister.
And I've known Mario a long time, so he came in and it was very welcoming. But within, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, we all had a picnic down at the Botanical Gardens together, just a hub picnic, casual catch-up. And you should have heard him rave about how brilliant everyone is. Like, I've got goosebumps because he couldn't stop talking about, they're such a great group of people. I feel so comfortable in that room. I'm so glad to be part of this.
And did you notice, because I was at that picnic with you, that not one time did anyone discuss business? It was not about business. We discussed the most deep and meaningful things going on in our lives, issues, fun things, sad things. And by the time we were done, it felt like we'd caught up with family, and that's the best bit, right?
I think that dirty word networking is, it's more community. And I think over the last several years in particular, the benefit all our fresh members have said to me is that they don't know how they would have got through these last 2 years without the fresh community. And even going online, we had to pivot and get onto Zoom. But they all were able to see each other. They still felt like they had something going on in their life. They had structure. You need structure in networking or community. But you do need that structure because people need that to keep going. And so it pushed people through, even though when they were even going through bad times. There's been a lot of awful stuff going on. But they knew that they can have their regular meetings, their regular catch-up, still keep their business moving forward, even though everyone was squashing them down. So,
Shannon lives local, and because of Fresh, I become really good friends with Shannon because she was close, and when we were in lockdown and we could go for a walk with one person, she was nearby. So, I look at times in my life when who's around and who's supporting me, and it's always Fresh, and it's... I want to ask you, Shaun, and this will likely be pre-Fresh, hopefully. What's the most, either the biggest networking kind of mistake you've made or the most awkward experience you've had in networking?
None. I'm perfect.
That's why I gave you a choice of two. It can be someone else or you. You'd never fail at anything.
Goodness gracious, throw someone under the bus, why don't you? This was not scripted or prepared at all. Do you know what? I can be quite an impatient person, I think. And sometimes I like relationships to be created pretty quickly. So I think maybe when I first started, there was undoubtedly a bit of an expectation that I would connect really quickly with those in my hub. And the hub was very closely connected at the time when I first joined. And I think at first I felt a little bit, and this is not because of the way they were treating me, I felt a little bit like an outsider, like anyone going into a new environment. But it actually made me step up. That's what I liked about it. So I just stepped up, and I just realized if I'm going to be an active participant in this group, I had to either take on a leadership role or really connect with others. So I guess it was just about maybe I had a few expectations to be upfront.
I love that. I'm going to share, I guess, one of mine, and I feel like, and this wasn't a mistake, but something that I had to kind of retrain my mindset on, and that was the idea of seeing who was referring business or who was not returning referrals and thinking that it was a you to me, me to you, rather than me to someone, and everyone does that in the group and it all comes around, and I think, because I think that's a big thing for people coming into a group and they go, sometimes people will refer to me and I go, you're really difficult for me, a really difficult business to find business for. And so I felt down on myself. And then when you start that negative talk to yourself, it can become really uncomfortable. And I think that is something that new people would relate to a lot.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to, what you're referring back to that person doesn't even have to be business. It could literally just be emotional support, love, kindness, generosity in other areas, So, yeah.
This is where a lot of people have the wrong idea around networking. They see it as, I don't think I've got anyone to refer to you. And I didn't have that. As a travel agent, I don't do with, compared to a lawyer or financial planner or accountant, they're often referring to people within their own little finance world, so they could easily bring people. But how I ever looked at it, it's like, okay, I'd listen to who was speaking, who can I invite that would possibly be a future client for them. I don't know them, so I'll do some research. So I would go online and I'd invite those people to a meeting. So networking is more about connections and introductions. That's how I look at it. And the meetings that you go to every fortnight are a magnet. So every fortnight you get a new event and you don't even have to organise it because you've got an organisation that does it for you. So every fortnight, if you bring people together, keep bringing people, because all those introductions, it's amazing the amount of business that transacts as a result of the guests that come along.
Fortnight, such an important word as well. Like, it's not weekly, which is fabulous. Sorry. I mean, I love catching up with everyone, but fortnightly just works so much better. When you do have a busy career, sometimes a weekly thing is a little bit too much. So it feels so much more doable.
What did you see in business or in networking over that COVID time of getting online, and what shift? Do you think now we're coming out the other side of that, and I know that Fresh has changed for the better for that, but were there key things that stood out to you?
Look, with Fresh, we've had to pivot and give different options for people now, and that's one of the biggest things I've learned in business is that I can't give them what I want. I've got to listen to what they want, and they all, again, there's so many people that love cafe networking. They love that Avo Smash experience and meeting up face to face. When you do it once a fortnight, that's fine. When you're in your own business, you want to meet those people because you feel isolated a bit, so you do want that.
So with this podcast, people that are tuning in, listening now, and they're getting to know his royal freshness and Shawnee, but what do you see coming out of the podcast? I mean, you've run webinars for years, you've run all sorts of workshops and great events, but what's your vision with the podcast?
The vision is to, one, give business owners inspiration, motivation and education. Education has been paramount for everything. We all need education. We just have to keep learning, and after listening to you do all yours, for those who don't know, Tiffanee, plug.
Episode 300 rolled out today, by the way.
Wow.
So, we have an opportunity in the network. We've got a lot of experience. We've got a lot of people that can actually help people. And I just really want to actually share the Fresh and get it out there to everybody because, business is very lonely. And there are times, I know what I was like in my first 4 years of business. It was really tough.
Yes.
And so therefore you just need those little bits of oomph,
ooh
la la, as Shaun always says,
hell yeah,
to get through it. But also we're going to be creating things about to master your networking, because networking is a skill.
Yes.
Not everyone's good at it. Look, I still learn. I've been doing it for 12 years. But we want to actually teach people how to do it. So do it the fresh way. So it's not a dirty word.
It's a clean word now.
Put the clean word. Wash your mouth out.
Been through the wash.
That's awesome. I think that we could wrap this episode up. I think that I'm really excited to bring conversations to the show, and probably a few more with old mate Shawnee with his mindset Jedi magic.
Oh, I can't wait.
And we'll be hearing from you again. His royal freshness, waving your wand. Thank you so much, and thank everybody for tuning in to our first episode.
Thanks, Tiff.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Let's Get Fresh. Don't keep it to yourself. Share the fresh, and of course, subscribe to our podcast so you can keep the fresh goodness coming your way. If we've tantalised your networking taste buds, get along to a fresh event near you. Grab your free guest pass at www.freshnetworking.com.au. Until next time, stay fresh.